Hello and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be going over the events of July 23rd. So the most pertinent issue at the moment is the situation in Odessa, because this comes amid the backdrop of the deal between Turkey, Russia, Ukraine about grain exports that I was talking about yesterday. And basically what happened was, and this is disputed by some sources, but generally accepted, is that Russia there were 10 strikes on the port of Odessa, and Russia was the perpetrator, and the targets were tugboats and military boats of the Ukrainian Navy. And one of the boats destroyed was actually the Centaur class fast assault craft Malin. So that's a pretty big blow to the Ukrainian Navy, the remnants of it, because most of it was destroyed in the Battle of Mariupol. So this sparked a lot of condemnation, but that sort of befuddles me, because nowhere in the deal between Russia and Ukraine does it say that Russia can't strike military targets within the ports. If there's a military target in any area, then for the most part, the combatants have a right to destroy it. And it's not like there were any civilian casualties either. Ukraine says that there was a small fire and that a few houses were damaged on the outskirts of the port, but yeah, nobody got hurt. And what I think the point of this strike from Russia is sort of to serve as a warning against sort of using this deal with grain to take advantage of Russia and gain leverage on the diplomatic front to sort of advance their agenda of getting Russia to completely withdraw from the territories they've taken. So it's basically a show of force to show they're not suckers and that they're not going to give in to Ukraine's attempts at weakening them. Now, there were some conflicting reports that sort of contradict this narrative of events from Russian sources. They were reporting that there was this source saying that the Turkish government, they had heard from Russia that they deny striking the port of Odessa, but that's just hearsay. And until we see actual evidence of this, I'm inclined to believe that Russia was the perpetrator. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. So I don't know why anybody would try to just deny it. Another thing is that some locals actually reported that they were warned to stay away from certain workplaces in the ports the day before the strike. But that doesn't really prove much. So, yeah, I think that the course of events is pretty set in stone. And I don't think we'll just forget about this strike, just like every other strike was forgotten about, that was talked about in the media for like 2 days, and then we just move on to the next strike. So I want to just look at these geolocations by Chris759, and he's really good with these geolocations. He deserves a lot of credit. I'll link his Twitter in the description, because he really does deserve the support, because here he basically shows the sites that were destroyed and where the fires were, and from all the videos that were posted to Telegram. So just take a look at it and just see for yourself that these are the strikes, not near any granaries, not near anything. It was he deserves a lot of credit for making these geolocations. It must take a lot of time, but this one was pretty easy because it's just the Odessa port. We know that the Odessa port is right here. But yeah, let's move on. So the other major strike was over here on the airbase, which is called Konatovo Air Force Base. And I'm pretty sure it's this one. It's on the outside of this major city over here, which if I tried to pronounce, I would butcher mercilessly. So yeah, they struck this area with 13 missiles, and they also hit the nearby railway. And there were 8 sea-based caliber missiles that struck the airbase, and then another 5 X-22 missiles, and it came from a Tu-22 M3 aircraft. Now, the Russian Ministry of Defense, they claim that 200 troops, 9 artillery pieces, and units of equipment were destroyed in the strike. Seems like a lot, but yeah, we do know for a fact that it was struck per video. And there were also some other strikes in the today. We had some strikes on Mykolaiv, Kryvyi. There were also strikes south of Zaporizhia, but this is all common by now. It's not much of a big deal. The one thing that I want to talk about before we move on to the front lines is that Ukraine launched a strike on Horlivka, and they damaged a machine building plant. So now let's get on with the actual front lines. So in Kherson and Zaporizhia, now that the Russian Ministry of Defense have actually posted their version of the front lines, their map, a lot of people have made adjustments to their maps, and I also sort of changed it accordingly. So now we're hearing from Rybar, for instance, that Shcherbaki is under Russian control, along with Mali Shcherbaki and Stepnove. So I changed the map just to make that clear. And now the thing that can happen in this scenario is that you can see sort of a flanking maneuver to sort of cut off Ukrainian forces in Orikhiv along this this Konka River. But that's something that can only happen if Russia puts in the necessary and sufficient amount of forces to actually get the offensive to succeed, since there have been many attempts at taking Orikhiv and none of them have actually succeeded. We did see some strikes on Orikhiv and Novoandrivka recently, so it is possible that in the future they'll be attacked. We do know that Russia does want Zaporizhia and Kherson to be under their control entirely, because now it's being announced that an election commission is being set up to create a referendum that the citizens would decide on whether they should join Russia or not. So that's interesting. And the other thing about Zaporizhia that sort of shows that they're sort of trying to be integrated into Russia itself is that a new pipeline is being built from mainland Russia towards Zaporizhia to supply them, and it's supposed to be built by September. So, yeah, we're seeing that Russia has no intention of giving these areas up. And I will talk about the events in Kherson later on. There was certain fighting over there, but not much like material gains that I could speak of. Ukraine is just trying to cross the river around here, the Inhulas River. Besides that, we're not seeing much of a change, besides what I was talking about yesterday with Ohine. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about before we get to Donbass is that Solotke is now back under Russian control. So I just adjusted the map accordingly, and I gave them some area around the open fields, which sort of makes sense. So now they could push back and attack Vuhledar, Pavlivka from the eastern side. And now let's go to Donbass. So in Donbass, I don't have much to say besides the fact that there's fighting going on the heights around Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk itself is still contested. the northern area is still under Ukrainian control, but for the most part, the city is under Russian control. Not the city, the town is under Russian control. You just have the northern area where, which is on high ground that the Ukrainians are holding out at, and then this would be a major blow to Ukraine if this area fell, because then there's nothing after that in the line of defense before reaching Bakhmut. But I think that after Pokrovsk falls, Russia will focus first on Bakhmutske and Soledar. Now, we didn't see anything much change on the front lines around here. Just want to say that the Russian Ministry of Defense, they claim that they've eliminated over 60 fighters from this Donbass territorial like defense formation or something like that, which I'm assuming is some unit that was made up of probably civilians beforehand that and they were just supposed to, they're loyal to Ukraine, and they're fighting against Donetsk being taken by Russia. I'm pretty sure that's what Russia is referring to. It might be one of those territorial defensive units. Either way, they say that this one unit alone suffered over 60 casualties. But yeah, nothing much here, just the standard in terms of artillery, counter-artillery. Russia destroying a lot of M777 howitzers. That's all I have to say about this area. So now we're going to go and just talk about the fact that Biden, now he has about $6 billion left in reserves that he can give and allot to Ukraine. So this comes from the authorization of a spending package that was passed in Congress. Pretty sure it was in March, in early March, which gave tens of billions of dollars in aid to Ukraine. And now Biden, he had the authority to allocate these funds over time, and he has $6 billion left that was earmarked for him. So what's going to happen is once those $6 billion run out, he's going to have to pass another bill through Congress. So we'll see what content is in the next bill, which will be passed, or at least proposed, I assume, in the future, in the very near future, because now Biden, he's announcing that the Americans, they're giving the new aid, that's $270 million aid grants to the Ukrainian military. Just the interesting thing is that it won't include any F-15 or F-16 jets, and it won't include the MLRS that reach a range of about 300 kilometers. So that's bad news for Ukraine, because they were really expecting to receive these high these rocket launchers that could really reach deep into Russia. They were really anticipating this, but apparently the United States decided not to provide them with these material because of the fear of escalating the situation with Russia, which has already deteriorated, which is understandable. You don't want to now anger Russia, especially giving them equipment that can be used within their own territory. That's almost like an act of war, and Russia would consider it as such. And we have seen that the United States has played a big role in Ukraine's war effort. There are reports from the Russian media that the strikes on the bridge in Kherson, this bridge, the one that we've talked about before, the Antonovsky Bridge, the operators of the HIMARS, they were assisted by American military personnel. So if that's true, you're seeing this huge amount of collaboration between the Russians and the Ukrainians and the Americans, and Russia doesn't take too kindly to that, which is it's understandable from their perspective, which is why you're seeing America sort of scale down their support from Ukraine, although they are going to be giving a lot of UAVs and a lot of different artillery pieces and radars and stuff like that to the Ukrainians. Another thing about American collaboration is that 2 Americans actually got killed today in the Donbass, and that sucks for America and for the families, of course. But Russia calls them mercenaries. Yeah, it happens. There was also a French mercenary who got killed. So yeah, you are seeing some foreign fighters die in this war, but it was of their own volition to come here. So I don't feel too bad. And that's basically it for today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.